The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Nick Eatman, Brian Broadus, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, July 27th, 2022, Season 18, Episode number 14. Welcome to the latest edition and the first edition from training camp of DallasCowboys.com Radio's Cowboys Break. It is presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. We're very excited to be out here in Oxnard, California. You got my normal crew, Nick and Amber. We did drop one person that is no longer with us, Mr. David Hellman, but we've added a name that a lot of you guys are very familiar with. Mr. Brian Broadus is back on the break, live here with us throughout training camp and throughout the season. You are the new member of DallasCowboys.com Cowboys Break.
Yeah, you can't get rid of LSU guys. You know, you move on from Hellman, you got to put another LSU guy in there. But you guys, like I was telling you guys, I'm like gum on your shoe. I'm kind of like there. You always notice it's there, and you're just like, man, I guess I could get rid of this gum. But it's great to be with everybody again.
Yes,
I mean, when you guys came forward, you know, and asked to be a part of this, my immediate answer to you was, yeah, tell me when we start. Tell us how we're going to do this and all that. And the break, DallasCowboys.com is such a great part of my life. And I'm so excited to be back here with you guys, battling with those two over there. I know there's going to be some battles. I know there's going to be some battles with you. But, yeah, this should be a lot of fun this year.
Yeah,
Not
Brian,
with me, though.
I'll battle
you're
with
on my
you.
side.
I'll battle with you.
Oh, man.
I'll battle. You're a good battler. You're a good battler.
Yeah, absolutely is.
First thing he said when he saw me was like, "You ready to start this thing?" Like he's ready to fight today and go at it. But we're very, very
he's a little
happy
spicy
to have
today.
you back.
Yeah.
Brian, tell for those that haven't been following along,
Yeah.
what have you been doing in this time that you haven't been on the break?
Well, I moved over. I left from DallasCowboys.com and then went to 105.3 The Fan and have a show over there, the G-Bag Nation, 2 to 7, Monday through Friday. Doing a lot of podcast work now, doing a lot of various things, a Cowboys pre- and post-game show. I miss you guys for that, too. We do it on the radio side. But, yeah, the radio has been really, really good for me. It's allowed me to kind of open up and do some things. Not only the Cowboys stuff, even though we're the official station of the Cowboys, the Rangers, the Stars, the Mavericks and stuff. So it's kind of made me watch a lot of different sports and pay attention. But my first love is right here with what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, I love having you back on the show because it does give us an opportunity to have some really good conversation. Nothing against Dave. We had some great conversations.
Oh, yeah,
when
Dave's
was
good
on as well.
Dave's good.
But it is good to have you back.
Thank you.
And I did tell you mentioned LSU, just so y'all know, his son's now at Texas.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got split loyalties at this point. We'll be rooting for us for the same
We
team.
will.
When your money goes to a school, you are
You
officially
pull
a
for
fan.
that- you pull for that school.
So we'll both be doing some Texas
There you go.
loving this year. Let's get into a little training camp talk. It is day one. Nick, lay out for us the schedule for today. What are the players expected to do here today? What can fans take part in today that's going to be out here in Oxnard?
I don't know the schedule. I just know we're here at 9 o'clock. No.
Nothing has changed, Brian.
Nothing
As
has
you can
changed.
see, nothing has changed.
I just feel like I got morphed back into that time period there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good to have you, Nick.
They're going to be on the field today. Are they going to be hitting? No, they're not.
No, they're not gonna be
And
hitting.
you might
Yeah.
see some weird-looking helmets up there. Getting used to that. That's what they're. I don't think they have to do that every day, but when they do,
The padded helmets
clash,
you're talking
yeah,
about.
I don't even know what they're called. The Guardian caps, I think that's what they're
Something
called.
like that. Sounds
And,
good.
Yeah,
Let's go
you've
with
seen
it.
them. You've seen it around. They don't look like normal football, but it is supposed to cut down on any kind of concussions at practice. But as far as today goes, I think the next couple of days are going to just be some light. Walkthroughs, get back on the field, get their feet under them again, and then I think the first padded practice, honestly, is Friday.
Yeah, I think it was here in the schedule maybe August 1st.
Yeah, I
so
thought
maybe
it
that
was
was a
next week, I
Monday.
think.
So
Yeah, I
we're
think
going
it's
to
Monday.
we're talking about ramping up.
All right,
See,
then.
there's a reason why you brought me back to this thing.
There we go.
I thought it was 3 days to do it, and then we going on Friday.
No, they changed it up. It's actually, I think for the rest of this week, it's going to be, it's not going to be contact. It won't be padded. I think that they have practice, obviously, today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. Saturday, I think, is a lighter practice,
Yeah.
though. But then
Those
Sunday,
game
they're off.
situation
And then
things.
Monday is when it all
I don't
starts
know the
up for
schedule.
real.
I know
Monday's
the
when we
players.
get going.
I know the players going on PUP. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that,
Well,
that's happening
good,
right
yeah.
now as we
Yeah.
speak. Michael Gallup is going to be on PUP there, but that's okay. But I tell you that what's interesting is Jabril Cox is not.
Yeah.
That's
not
a good
on
thing.
That is
And
a very good
That is
sign.
a good thing for
Yeah.
him to get started on there. A couple other young guys, receivers, Demario Drummond, Hansford, the linebacker. I'm missing another wide receiver. Not a big. Let's see, who's my other receiver that's going on? I guess it's not on here. But yeah. Oh, okay. But Gallup's the big
Gallup,
one.
definitely,
Gallup, Demario.
That's not
Drummond,
surprising, though, with Gallup.
Mosley, the other cornerback, Quandre Mosley, and then
Yeah.
and Hansford. And then on NFI is Damone Clark, which was to be expected. He's going to be on there probably for most of the year.
Yeah, I tell you what, when we were watching the OTA practices, the mini camps and stuff, I know from my perspective down there, watching Gallup, watching Cox and those guys work, it was very encouraging. And talking to the medical staff too about it, I'm like, listen, what's the plan for Gallup? And it's like, listen, we're trying to keep him off the PUP list. We're trying to, it's now 4 games. It used to be 6. Boy, that was hard when you had a guy miss 6 games. So if they could keep him off, maybe to keep him on the 53 when we get down to the final cuts, we talked at, you'll see it. The timetable, I think, is going to be really, really close on that. But, man, the progress that he was making just from the former scout's eyes of watching a guy work, it was like he was getting ready to run the 55 meters. I mean, bouncing around, moving around. Agility was good. Cox looked really good with the agility that he had. So encouraged by him and hopeful, very hopeful about Gallup from the medical staff.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so fans say, because all these lists are a little different, you cannot put a player on PUP unless you put him on there right now to start the season,
Right.
to start training camp. So he could get off of there in a week, 2
Yeah,
weeks,
right.
whatever. But you can't go on there and have that protection of that 4 games
Right.
unless you put him on today. And
Right.
so that's why that's happening. But I think the Cowboys are still hopeful that he still will play in that first regular season game.
I was going to ask Nick, though, with the way the practice, you need me to write, I could write a practice report
Go
about
ahead.
this.
But the
what I mean?
problem
The
is
better question
we
is,
don't have
where's
Dave
Dave?
to read
Yeah.
it. So.
That's a problem.
That's a better question.
Because I read
we
it.
can make a practice report sound really good,
No, you
can't we?
can,
We
you
can
can
do
write
that.
it. I don't know who's going to edit it. That's the issue.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would
person
be a
edited it.
huge issue. That would be a huge issue.
You know what? If you just start seeing headlines that say DallasCowboys.com report, maybe, yeah.
Maybe it's
there we
Broadus.
go.
Yeah.
We might dab back into that one
Yeah.
time or two.
Yeah, we actually there will be an announcement next week. We're going to be having a new person join our team. We'll talk
There you go.
about that a little bit more next week, though. You guys stay tuned for that. We'll have some more information. I know we got lots of surprises these days. Real quick, before we take our first break, too, I also wanted to take a little time to give you guys an idea of some content that will be coming up throughout training camp. One big thing that's going to be happening, and it's something you guys all love, is Training Camp Live. We will be doing Training Camp Live throughout training camp. It will be basically a video where you'll be able to look at parts of practice. We'll have some of our guys, some of our analysts on air that'll be talking about it, giving you an insight on different players that we're watching. And you'll get to see some of the things that are happening here at practice. So it gives you guys that are not here at Oxnard the opportunity to see a little bit of practice, see a little bit of the guys training, and kind of get your own opinions on what you're seeing.
Yeah, a lot of the great things about what DallasCowboys.com does as far as covering training camp live, to me, that was so much fun to be a part of, and I'm glad you guys are continuing on with that. That just gives those fans that opportunity. When you're not here, you're kind of wondering, you're following Twitter, and you're kind of just, okay, what's happening? But then when you actually see the video, of a catch, a pass defense, a blitz, those are the kinds of things I think that the fans really, really appreciate about DallasCowboys.com.
Yeah, and it helps now Sean Payton's not coaching.
Yeah.
So that helps us.
Training Camp Live went from award-winning to like, we can't do this anymore.
For you guys that don't know.
We were too good at it.
Tell that story. Like, that's actually a pretty funny story.
I'll
Tell
try
that
and do
story.
it quick. I know we're
Yeah.
probably up on a break, but Sean Payton was friends of mine, and he's sitting in New Orleans, and he was telling me, he's like, hey, listen, man, you do this thing, this Training Camp Live. I goes, it's tremendous. I sit down, I have my lunch, and I'm watching you, like, film one-on-one practices. And he goes, I'm getting a great evaluation of what you guys are doing. And when I heard that, I immediately went to Derek and Nick, and I said, guys, we got a little bit of an issue here.
Needless
I got the
to
head
say.
coach of the New Orleans Saints is loving our content right now.
Yeah.
So we might need to kind of change a little bit. So if you want to blame somebody for why it changed a little bit, don't blame these folks. blame Sean Payton.
Yeah, now, needless to say, we've kind of changed it up a little bit.
Little tighter coverage. A little tighter
shot there.
Speaking
so we don't
of
give away
Sean
too much.
Payton, no, I'm
when do you want to get into that?
Nah, I'm good right now.
We got
him
time.
as a guest sometime.
We got time. Real quick, one other thing I wanted to mention for you guys. There's a new feature on our app. If you haven't had an opportunity to update the app, go update the app. There's a really cool feature that we've added called Cowboy Stories. What it does is very similar to Instagram stories, Facebook stories. It's that kind of feel where our writers, our on-air talent, they will be creating content for you guys that's like these just quick hits, different things they'll notice at practice, and really different things that they want to show you as we travel with the team. We go with the team everywhere they go. We are always around, so it's like kind of giving you guys an opportunity to go behind the scenes, hear what our writers are thinking about the team, see the sights and sounds of what's happening around the team, and do it in these quick little hits. You'll see it right there on the homepage of the app. When you go in, right there at the top, you'll see the Cowboy Stories. So make sure you go check that out. But you have to update your app if you haven't already in order to see it. But make sure you check that out. Some really great content that Nick and his team are putting together.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse being around that team the whole time.
It absolutely is. There's sometimes it's good.
You created that.
There are other times not so good. But yeah, we'll have some fun with it. I know we put out a few yesterday, so some good stuff that Nick and his team started putting out yesterday. So it'll be really, really good. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to get into this opening presser yesterday that Jerry and Mike McCarthy and Stephen Jones had. There were lots of things that came out of that. We'll get some opinions from these guys on what they thought of some of those comments. We'll let one come right back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Lil Sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Lil Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is. It's a non-fungible token.
Everyone's on something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
Back to the break.
All right, whether you're watching from home or cheering in the stands, Essler Lenses is the place to see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essler experts and find a perfect Essler lens for you. See more, do more. Essler.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from. We're not at the SWBC Mortgage Studios. We're in Oxnard, California. Cowboys training camp. We'll be back
in there.
Yeah, we'll be back there. I don't know what's August 22nd, I think it is. But right now we got training camp out here in Oxnard. We've got our normal crew, Nick Eagman, Amber Garcia. Got our newest member, Brian Broadus, joining us here on the break. Let's talk about the opening press conference from yesterday. There were lots of different things. Yeah, there were lots of different things that they got into yesterday. Let's start first with this quote that I think this was probably the biggest headline that came out of the presser, where Jerry was talking about Mike McCarthy. His quote was, "He wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't think he was the man to lead this team to the Super Bowl." McCarthy also had a quote, "I'm going to focus on football." My question for you guys is, how much do you think?
You forgot like 3 words that Jerry said. I have choices.
Yeah, he did
I
say
have choices.
that.
He said, I have choices, and I thought that was really
Why?
important. Well, because he's saying, I mean, just like we said before, Sean Payton, Dan Quinn, other guys. I mean, he's alluding to that, but I mean, I thought that was interesting. But honestly, like, of course Jerry's going to say that. But then he got pressed on, oh, well, then did you give him a contract extension? No, I didn't. Well, then what are we talking about here? Because you can change your mind, and you might have already changed it.
Well, Jerry's always said, I have the right to change my mind.
And I will.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's interesting. He's sitting there. Mike McCarthy's there.
That's so awkward. Like, that whole part of it, like, you're literally asking question about someone's job to their boss that's sitting right next to you, and you have to stay quiet and just listen to this whole thing. Poor guy. I felt bad. And and some of the things that Jerry did say, it's just like, what else can you really say? Like, you can't say anything else, and you have to believe that at this point. You have to go all in, and he's all in with him at this point. So, but as a fan and people that cover the team, and you're watching and listening, you're like, okay, do you guys all watch the same thing that we watch? Like, there are a lot of concerns still around this whole team and the whole belief that they are in a better place right now. I don't know if I believe that at this point, but I will say I have seen Mike McCarthy do some really good things with the team and some changes that he's made that me at least, have never seen when Jason Garrett was here. There are positive things and things that are positive for the players.
Like what?
For example, and we're working on a documentary right now that it's, I don't know if I can say the subject.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's about mental health.
Yep.
So one of the very, and I deal with mental health stuff, so I know and I understand the situation. So certain breaks that Mike McCarthy has given these players, and I'm not saying anybody listening to this, don't be thinking, oh, well, that's why they get breaks and they're not out there working. No, absolutely not. They work and they work hard, but certain times that they do need a little mental break. The things that the team has been providing the players in today's world, where you see how social media is, you see how heavy certain situations can affect a player and their mental health. Those things, Mike McCarthy, since he got here, has been providing the players that are positive things. And I know people listening want to care about the work on the field and all that, and fine. But I'm saying that not everything's bad. And yes, there are some things that he needs to fix, and he needs to fix pretty quickly because his job is on the line this year. Yeah. But you got to go all in at this point, but it's hard to believe that whole mentality right now when you look and evaluate and analyze what the team really is looking like right now.
I mean, those are all good things, and at the end of the day, I love coaches that coach the person rather than just coach the player. But at the end of the day, let's be clear. This is a results-oriented business, and he's going to be judged by wins and losses. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure fans out there listening, they're probably the same way. They're like, yeah, those things are great, and if you can do that in the context of figuring out how to win, that's all better. But at the end of the day, he's going to be judged by wins and losses, and he knows that. Mike knows that. Like, every coach knows that. That's a part of the gig. Wins and losses matter. Ultimately, he's got to win, and he's got to win big here in Dallas if he wants to keep his job, because that's just the way that it works.
I think AG's onto something, though. When you start to ask people in the organization about Mike McCarthy as the coach, the training staff will tell you that he totally gets it about the health of his team. And that's something that Jerry Jones mentioned going into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It was one of the healthiest teams in the league. That was something that was carrying Jerry Jones' hope going in, And so, if you look at it from that perspective, the health of the team, it's important. How you get to the end, do you have enough bodies? But to your point, how do you find a way to finish? That's the thing. If we were in Jacksonville right now and it's a 12-win season, we'd be talking about, the greatest season the Jaguars, it was one of the – but here with the Dallas Cowboys, the expectation, the bar, Jerry Jones even talked about that. The mistake I think that Jerry Jones is making, and to me, is he should not even address these questions with the Mike McCarthy stuff. I mean, about the job. He shouldn't have had to come out and say how adamant he is in support of Mike McCarthy. The fact that he is still at the podium, still have a job, just let it go. because what you're doing is you're opening it up. You could probably watch any show this morning on TV. Just pick any one you want, and they're addressing that whole thing about Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy and job security and all that. Right. We all know the coaches that are out there. We all understand, though, that Dan Quinn got a contract that's very similar to what NFL head coaches get today when you start to talk about compensation. So there's that factor. There's the Sean Payton factor. These are things you don't want to bring that forward. That will be talked about on shows in week 8, week 12, week 60. Okay, now it's not working, and here are the options.
But you know what, Brian? Hearing you say that, think about it this way. Imagine, what? Let's say Derek and I talk behind cameras and closed doors. Okay, he says he supports me, blah, blah. Right. Okay, good. But imagine the difference that it would make if you're standing in front of all the media and then people are maybe post one question and he'd rather stay quiet. He's like, next question, or like, don't even really address it much. How would that, it makes a difference that he standing in front of everybody is hearing that coming out of Jerry Jones and as far as like his confidence and what he's going to do moving forward. I think that it does, I agree with you to a certain level, but it does help him hear those words in front of the public.
Well, see, the thing that Jerry, I think this about Mike McCarthy. When he got this job, I don't think he knew what this job entailed.
I don't think
in Green Bay, I worked 5 years of my life in Green Bay without an owner, without somebody. You're talking about your owner, your general manager, immediately. DallasCowboys.com puts a camera and a microphone in front of his face after a game, and Nick Ambar, everybody asks him a question about, Jerry, how you feeling right now? I'm totally depressed. This was a game I thought we were going to, And now, so I don't think Mike McCarthy really understood that coming in. I think Mike McCarthy knows now, though, because he went on, Rich Eisen or one of those national shows to put it out there. And it became such a big story that Jerry felt he had to address it. Where your conversations, if you and Derek are having conversations behind the scene about your job security, that's all you need. To tell it in front of everybody like that, it's almost like, well, wait a minute, you're disappointed. You said there might be this, there might be that. Now you're kind of overselling it that we're all okay here. I just would have let it go. I would have just said, hey, listen, Mike's our coach. We're moving forward. Mike, you address what you want to address, and I'll address what I want to address. But just to continually oversell that he's our guy, I think that's the wrong approach, because what if we get to the end and he's not the guy? That's
the more you say, you start believing it. Maybe.
Well, let's do this, though. I'd love to look at this from 3 different perspectives. And, Nick, I'd love to get your opinion on this. Let's look at this at 3 different perspectives, how much you think all this talk that's out there about the coaches' job security or not affects these 3 people, Mike McCarthy or groups of people, the coaching staff, and the team. Thoughts?
I think it affects the coaching staff probably more than any. I don't think it affects the team. I don't. I think that they got enough things that they deal with and worry about. I mean, they may talk about it, but I think when they're out there, I don't think it matters. I do think it affects the coaching staff a little bit because, it's natural to kind of form cliques and sides on
any
this.
group. It's
absolutely.
And I think they're just talking about, what happens here, and because you have to as a coach, what's your next move and all that. So because it's being brought up a lot, I don't know if it affects Mike as much. He knows he's got to win. He just doubled his win total from 6 to 12, and the fans want him fired. I mean, like anybody else, like that's so
like Brian said in Jacksonville, they're probably celebrating him a little bit.
Right? Yeah. It reminds me of Broadus's best line ever for Jacksonville.
Jacksonville needs fans too.
Yeah. Oh my God. We were reading something and it was just like, I'm no longer going to be a Cowboy fan. I hate this team. I'm selling all my stuff. I can't believe that. And he was just like, Jacksonville needs fans. See you later. Which they do, obviously. We're going to go there for the first time in 15 years.
I was kind of hoping for a London trip with you guys.
I kind of was too. I would love to go to London as opposed to going.
We had a good time there.
I think it affects the team.
Nick holding 7 babies in one hand was I remember that in a pub.
That was awesome.
At a bar.
In a bar, yeah.
Holding three triplet babies at a bar.
I've had 10 pints, and let me hold these kids. What are we doing here?
I was just seeing our legal lives flashing before our eyes.
I'd like to go back just to see if those kids are like what 9
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Yeah, it might be a little older than that. Yeah.
If
you can hold them now.
If I
No, I ain't holding the kids.
comment real quick, I think the people that get affected, maybe not Mike McCarthy, but families. That's where I think
of the coaching staff.
Yeah,
of the players?
that's where I think happens. I think that where all of a sudden, like kids that are in school, like they hear that their friends go, well, what's wrong with your dad? Why can't he win games? Why is Brian Broadus going on talking Cowboys and talking badly about him? What? I think coaches
switching shows on.
Yeah. What did I say? Talking Cowboys?
Yeah.
What are we on? Cowboys break?
Right. What are we on?
Embarrassing, Brian.
I know I'm on a show here, right? Yeah, Cowboys break. But the thing about it is that it's old. It's 58 years old. It's a problem. The thing though that I think coaches get, their families are the ones that feel.
Yeah.
You're right about players. Players, like, they'll play for whoever they play.
Yeah.
They'll play for whoever they want to play. But the families is what bothers. That bothers coaches when their families at night get drug into the questions that are being raised by us.
Yeah.
But I have a question. And Nick, you've been around these people a lot more. And Brian, you hear things here and there. But me personally, I haven't heard any of this recently. But I don't think that there is the team is becoming divided or anything. Like Mike McCarthy is losing anybody's support as far as the team, coaches, as opposed to, for example, 2 years ago when you started seeing that on the defensive side of the ball. And even, I guess, last year towards the end, there was some drama there at the wide receiver position. And I'm sure, I don't know if we're going to comment on that later on. But as a team in general, there's no kind of, like, dividing happening currently. Like, he has everybody's support on the team right now.
Yeah, I think that to me, like I say, Nick's right about what happens in team settings. So with the cliques, with the little cliques of group, and all of a sudden, if Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy and Joe Philbin and those guys don't deliver on the offense, and it turns into the defense is playing top 10 defense, top 10 scoring defense, number 1 in turnovers, and you're not having success, and this turns into a 9-8 season. Then all of a sudden it's going to be, we got to do something different. That's the problem. I think that there's been, and I was very, very critical of Jason Garrett because I felt like he was wasting talent. I felt like that he was wasting good drafts and, good players, not pushing things through to getting to an NFC championship game or a Super Bowl or anything like that. You had the best quarterback going into the playoffs last year between San Francisco and Dallas. You didn't coach that game like you had the best quarterback in that game. And then those are the things I think that when you start to talk about Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore and job security and stuff like that, I think that's what you got to focus on.
All right, let's go on to the next topic that they hit. Jerry was talking about free agent losses. Some interesting comments he made. Here was one of his quotes. He said, "That was totally our decision. It had everything to do with their availability and my concern about their availability. Check I at the door. It's we when we go through the door." Question is this directed at a specific player, you think, or you think all three of those guys? Because you could make an argument all three of them have had availability issues. But do you think there was maybe one guy that was kind of the target of that, or do you think it was really about all of them?
Amari. That was the target of Amari. But you could also, Lyle Collins to me is a close second when you look at what happened.
He had the issue last year.
He had the issue. Well, look what happened during the pandemic with the whole hip thing. He came in, he practiced one time, and then all of a sudden you lose him for that whole season. I think that was about Amari Cooper, the games that he missed. And I'm just going to be real honest. I think it was about the vaccination stuff. The two games he missed Kansas City. If you'd had any offense in the second half of that game, you beat Kansas City on the road. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you had any offense the second half of that game, and then you look at what happened with the Raider game. The defense, the pass interference, Sean Hockley's crew was out of their minds. Yeah. But see, that's where I feel like, though, the availability, the practice. When you're Kellen Moore, and this is where I give Kellen Moore a little bit of a pass when he starts talking about people, they've got to use Amari Cooper more. he doesn't practice. So how do you use him in the game? My vision of Amari Cooper is like he plays in games. But remember that time against the Jets up there at the Meadowlands? He plays 5 plays, and then he's out, and now the receiving core is just a wreck. So, if you're a coach and you're trying to game plan, but wait a minute, he's not practicing. I don't know if I can call this play because of availability. He didn't practice the play. Am I going to – well, he's a veteran guy. He should know and all that. I don't know. That's where you got to give Kellen Moore a little bit of a pass when it comes to Amari Cooper.
Let's not forget. I mean, Randy Gregory was getting
availability is the topic of his career, right?
Gregory was getting. He was in that bus too. That underneath it, that Jerry was throwing them all in there.
But did you feel like I feel like that they got okey doked by the agent on that one? I feel like that Randy Gregory had a deal here, and then the agent, because of a Colorado tie, better deal. Basically, the Cowboys felt that they had that one done.
But I'm not going to give Randy a pass on that because ultimately he's still the player. He still gets to make the final call.
Oh, sure.
The agent can give him advice and try to push him in whatever direction he wants. But at the end of the day, that was Randy's decision. And by the way, that's his right to make that decision. He can decide, hey, I choose to go here over going here. He can say, hey, I don't think I like what's happening there. I can move on. That's fine. But I wouldn't give him a pass.
But if you're Jerry, you could be really pissed off about it.
Yeah,
and I would be too. I helped you. I saved your career.
Yeah.
So I'm offering you a deal, and you take it because you want to go to it's the same deal. And I mean, you should just be like, yes, sir. Oh, yeah, we're doing
But whatever.
this.
If you take it, go, or whatever, don't get on Twitter and say the things that you say. Like, don't go to that extent. Like, go wherever you decide to go. It is your life, your career, whatever. Be appreciative of what Jerry has done for you, the support, because I'll include myself. Nick, I know you. I don't remember your stand on him back in the day. You were out of it.
I was definitely. There were several times I was like, let's just.
I had to apologize to him.
Okay, so everybody on this.
I had to apologize to him for calling him a dope smoker, a bad dope smoker.
And honestly, it wasn't even for me. It wasn't even about the fact that he had those particular issues. Because I'm like, hey, if you can play, I don't really care. That's an NFL thing. My thing is the availability. If the NFL says this is a rule you cannot break, then it's a rule you cannot break. And so if you're continuing to break the rule that the NFL is saying you can't break, then you can't be available to play. And my thought is at some point you have to just cut bait and move on.
Yeah, all of us
but Jerry
were like,
was not willing to do that. And that's the part where, for me, just my own personal loyalty, I look at it and I'm always like, if a person shows me loyalty, then I'm going to show them loyalty as well. And they buy credibility with me by showing me loyalty. That wasn't necessarily the way that he looked at it. That's his right. But I'm just saying that for me, I would have looked at it that way.
I just feel like that Randy was kind of a guy that got influenced. I remember bad Greg Hardy coming in here and them getting out in the parking lot there at Valley Ranch and toking it up in the car. And, Randy's trying to get his life back together, but this guy's bringing him down a different path. I felt like Randy was always kind of getting influenced by people. And I think maybe this agent did. I understand what everybody's saying about that. I think the agent's the one that worked the Cowboys on that one. But if you want to say where Jerry's focus was, I think it was clearly on Amari Cooper.
It's about Amari.
About Amari Cooper making $20 million a year and then, going from there.
Again, though, same thing with McCarthy. These were topics that he brought up. Like, Jerry brought these to the press conference. Now, were they going to be asked? Maybe.
Probably, but he wanted to get it out there.
He brought it up there. So, you don't have to say my support is with the guy next to me because he's next to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to say, well, this is why we cut these guys. You cut them. I'm actually surprised that Jerry brought that up. That's kind of why you don't talk during the summer. You don't talk during OTAs. You don't do all that. And then you get to training camp, and then you're like, well, what happened with Amari? You're like, dang, the weather's nice here. You just move on. But I don't know.
Okay, so I got an interesting question for you guys. He talks about availability. We talked about the 3 players that it could be directed at. Do you think in the instance of those 3 players that what they could bring to your team was more valuable than worrying about availability?
Yes. I'm
not
going to change my stance on this until I'm proven differently, but I would have never cut or traded Amari Cooper. I would never have done that. I don't agree with it. I think he wanted to be here, and I don't like what they've done since. I mean, I think it's a huge problem, and I think you had a chance to have something really special and great with the combination of all that. So unless CD is ready to jump in and be 100 catch guy and all that,
he is.
If he is, Okay.
Yes.
Well, then we'll see. But
I'm more concerned about down the depth chart, and that's where I think the issue is. Not necessarily the CD. I think CD, he already was as far as production is concerned, he was your top receiver last year.
Cool.
Nobody's cheering more for bums to play quarterback at Cleveland than Jerry and Steven right now. If Maury has like 31 catches, way to go. That's a good trade, Steven. Good job. But I think they changed the culture for them to do that, but they didn't replace the change. They changed the culture by, okay, we're going to get rid of Randy. We're going to get rid of Lyle Collins. We're going to get rid of Amari. We're changing the culture here. But what'd you bring back in return for changing the culture? You made it. I know on our radio show we've talked about it. Are they setting Mike McCarthy up to fail? With like getting rid of the guy.
I wouldn't say that because ultimately setting him up to fail means they fail, and ultimately I don't, like Jerry said yesterday.
They're not going anywhere.
But Jerry doesn't have a lot. Like Jerry said yesterday, he's like, I'm facing a birthday coming up here soon. I don't have time to be messing around. Like he doesn't have time to be worried about. Hey, I want this guy to fail. He wants everybody to succeed because he wants to succeed. He doesn't have a lot of time.
That's why Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore and those guys need to be worried then.
Yeah.
Because Jerry, we're running out of campaigns, and he named off all the people in his life that are no longer here with us.
This year was a crazy year from that standpoint for Jerry and for the Cowboys. Yeah,
absolutely,
no doubt about it. All right, we're going to take our second break. When we come back, we got more. We're going to talk about Stephen Jones
break.
had some different
Cowboys break.
had some different comments as well. We'll do that when we come back.
Cowboys forever.
DallasCowboys.com radio.
Sweet. Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is. It's a non-fungible token.
Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Brace yourself for an existential question. Has your butt been having enough fun lately? Have you been treating it well? Has it been going places? If not, then it's about time you start using SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the best way to get your butt tickets to live events. Just ask the thousands of other butts who have rated it the #1 ticketing app. So what are you waiting for? Download the app now or visit SeatGeek.com to get tickets to sports, concerts, and live events and make your butt happy. SeatGeek. Get your seat in a seat.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to the break.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I don't have my
Miller Lite.
It is a Miller Lite Fantasy Football Fest. Fantasy Football Fest, head out to the Star. Miller Lite Fantasy Football Fest presented by DraftKings on Saturday, August 20th at 5 p.m. Here are the fantasy experts and former players. Draft your team, enjoy food and drink, and more. Visit the Star at Frisco.com. Fantasy Fest.
We are heading back into our training camp mode. We're trying to get Nick back into the feeling here, get him back into the groove.
August 20th.
We'll be there. We'll be there. We keep working at this thing. We'll be all right.
I had a feeling we were a Miller Lite team today, so
there you go.
I broke it out today.
This show is presented by Miller Lite, our new sponsor, Miller Lite. So you guys make sure you give Miller Lite a little love. They are the only official beer, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment, though, is brought to you by blockchain.com. And let's get back into the press conference. Stephen Jones had an interesting comment yesterday. His quote was, "Time for young guys to get more chances." My question for you guys is, which young guys do you think need to step up most this year? I'll throw out a few names for you, and you tell me who you think the Cowboys need them to step up most. Kelvin Joseph, Dorrance Armstrong, CeeDee Lamb. I don't want to talk so much about him. I think we all know what he's doing. But Jalen Tolbert, Tyler Smith, Josh Ball or Matt Waletzko. Which one of those guys, of the young guys, or is there another one that
I wish you would have said Oso Diggy Zawa. Terrence Steele is one too, by the way. Yeah.
I would have gone with Terrence Steele, honestly, just because of.
But he's stepping up before.
Here's what I think it needs to happen with him. With Lyle, they called him the enforcer. He was the guy that if anyone was
just nasty.
If you're going to hit Dak Prescott late, you're going to have to deal with 71. I mean, who's that guy? Who's going to be that player?
I think that rookie might be that guy.
Tyler Smith? Yeah.
We're hearing that he's kind of got.
I got told something yesterday though. I was like, wow. It basically was like, and the guy that told me this was like, I'm very reluctant to say this because of who he's comparing him to. He's like, he's got Larry Allen's strength. He's got Larry Allen's strength.
That is a crazy statement.
He was like, I don't think he's going to be throwing up 700 pounds, but as far as grabbing a guy, taking him, and throwing him out of the way, he said Tyler Smith. It reminds me of Larry Allen. I was like,
it might be the jersey.
Somebody knows Larry Allen.
Yeah.
Well,
might be the jersey number 2. That's 73.
Maybe that could be. But no one said that about Mackenzie Bernardo.
No, not
no one was saying that about Joe Looney.
You never mentioned that on this show.
No. So this is the 73. I think it's the strength.
Okay.
And that's an interesting comment because I remember an OTA rep of Smith playing left tackle, and they try and bring Micah Parsons off the edge.
I saw that.
And all of a sudden, Smith kicks wide, and he's there, and he just slams him with his left hand. And Parsons, you see him and he just stops. And then he takes his right hand, and he slams it in him, and now he's got Parsons dead. And Parsons is like, I'm not going anywhere. And then he rushes on the other side, and to Nick's point, it's like, all right, Steele, you got to step up because then he gets walked back.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think we're going to talk about this offensive line this summer. I don't think the issues are at guard. I think the issues at right tackle. I do. I think it's one of those kind where I'm just kind of like, they played well with him, and I think they schemed well around him. But I think teams are watching him, and they're like, listen, don't take him wide because he's athletic enough to run you. Take your head and ram it right in the middle of his chest and walk him right straight back. That's where I worry. Yeah, that's where I worry about Terrence a little bit. I don't think the issues are with the other guys. I think it's more at that right tackle
I think that it's going to come down to, at the end of the day, Terrence Steele versus Conor Mcgovern. Who's better at their position? Is Terrence Steele a better right tackle than Conor Mcgovern is a left guard? And then whichever one loses that battle, that's where I think Tyler Smith's going to play.
I think you're on to something.
I think Tyler Smith will play right tackle. If Conor Mcgovern keeps doing well out here, I think that might be. And then Terrence Steele is your swing guy, where if anything happens to Tyron, which it probably will, then you got a solid swing guy.
I don't think you could just put Tyler Smith as the swing guy, and then all of a sudden something happens to Tyron Smith in week 8, and now you're all of a sudden just put him in cold. I think if you play him at right tackle, the vision, the feet, the punch, all different, but get him playing. At least let him get the speed of an NFL game. And then if you have to stick him in there at left tackle, do it. But I like your idea.
Yeah, the thing that worries me about Terrence Steele is, and this is my own assumption, I've not been told this by anybody, but I think he got the job not necessarily because the Cowboys were getting better at right tackle. He got the job because it's like, well, we're not that much worse off for the money. And that's not ever necessarily a good way to necessarily kind of figure out who should be your right tackle. Yeah. Like, I think they let Lyle go because they were like, we can replace him with Steele, and Steele will be fine. Well, like, it wasn't like you were upgrading. It was like, he'll be fine. And so that's the part that worries me a little bit is they weren't necessarily upgrading the position. They were just kind of going for
slashing prices.
Yeah, we can cut costs here, and when we cut costs, we don't feel like we'll get killed by cutting costs. We feel like we'll be fine.
Hey, G, I was hearing that. Here's a guy, I think he got the job. I like the money aspect of it, but also was hearing these things about him. First in the meeting room. Last
Terrence Steele?
Yeah, first in the meeting room. Last to lead. Coachable. Studies.
Available.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Off-season program winner.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Coaches fall in love with the guy who's just, maybe he's not the most talented, but he
works hard, man.
Boy, I'll tell you what. Lyle Collins, it's kind of pretty natural. Lyle Collins come in there and beat you up, do this, do that. Terrence Steele has to work a little harder.
Yeah.
And so, but coaches fall in love with that guy that's all of a sudden, man, he's taking notes. He's paying attention. He's in the weight room. I don't have to run him down to go do the drug test. I don't have to do this. So, see, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes the coach will say, boy, hey, we're really lucky to have that guy at right tackle. Until he's like, in Dak's like, gets hit with his body or something like that.
Yeah.
There's no clause in Terrence's contract on studying like 4 hours afterwards.
I was going to say, that's not someone I'm concerned about.
Terrence?
Yes, I was.
Good for you.
I was that first year when they put him in there.
No,
I was
it's
like,
good.
what are you doing? Get out. Yeah. But last year I felt good enough from what I saw from him to where I'm not really concerned about him. What I am concerned about, though, is this whole trust that they're putting in young talent overall.
Oh, okay.
I am like, that is something that I'm like, how is it okay? And it's not to say that they don't have talent. They're talented. They're here. That's why they're here, right? But we all know, and you guys mentioned strength. You only get strength over years, with experience and all that. So that's the part that I'm really concerned about. Okay, you got this young talent. Yes, they could possibly do the job. But are they strong enough? Do they have the right kind of strength that they need to compete with all these other NFL players that are veteran guys when we need them to, and for them to all be able to step up? So when you mentioned that whole list, Derek, I mean, a lot of these young guys, one that I'm really looking forward to is Jalen Tolbert. Mm-hmm. Excited about him. They definitely need him to step up very, very bad. Like this year, he needs to be able to contribute at the position. But I'm like, okay, what are you lacking from experience, just overall, from all these young talent? I think that's something that might, and I hope not, but that's the area of concern that I have. Is like, can you really put that much weight on so many young talent?
Yeah. I think the offensive line will be fine if there are no injuries, because I think last year the major problem I saw on the offensive line was not necessarily at right tackle, whether it was Lyle in there or whether it was Terrence Steele in there. It was left guard. That was the issue last year. That was what killed him so often in those games. And I really do think Tyler Smith is going to be a huge upgrade for them there. I think they're going to actually be able to run the ball. Here's the problem. I think right now you look at the tackle position and you say, if either one of those two starting tackles goes down, what are you doing? Because if you got to move Tyler Smith out, now you've just got that problem that was there last year. It will reappear. If you keep him at left guard and you go with one of those young guys, Josh Ball, well, let's go. That's where I'm really concerned. And I think that's it for me. I look at what the Cowboys did this offseason, and that's an area I don't think they addressed fully. Knowing that they got a guy at left tackle who is not always available. He always, every year it seems like he's going to have some issues that you're going to have to work through.
Sometimes it's not his fault. Guys fall in the back of his legs. He gets a high ankle sprain because he's blocking, and a guy just hits him in the back.
At that age, it's kind of part of life, Brian. You and I experienced that, right? It's just a part of life.
Getting up in the morning.
Yeah, you get hurt sleeping at night. It happens. The point is, I think they should have given themselves some kind of recourse if they have one of those two tackles go down. And right now, it sounds like they're trusting these young guys to be able to step into that, going to your point, Amber, and I don't know if that's a smart idea at tackle, protecting your investment back there at quarterback. If one of those two guys goes down, you're expecting one of these young guys to be able to step in and actually be able to play and keep him upright.
Yeah, before we get out of here, though, if Joseph turns out to be really good, you talk about somebody that's going to get coached hard in this camp. They are going to do everything in their power to try and put behind everything he's dealt with. And move forward. Maybe a new, fresh start, if you want to say. But I have a feeling that you're going to see these Al Harris, Joe Witt. They are going to be on number one from the day that we start out here. Because if he develops and all of a sudden that they could put him on the field, kick Brown inside at the nickel, I think the secondary really, really then improves quite a bit.
All right, we're going to have to wrap this thing up. But before we do that, I do quickly want to get some thoughts from you guys on just training camp in general, what you're going to be looking for at the practices. What's the most interesting thing you'll be watching today, tomorrow in practice? Obviously, knowing they're not going to really be hitting, but what kind of things are you excited to be looking for, and what players maybe that you're excited to be watching?
For me, it's the receivers. I mean, like we just said, I mean, which one of these guys will step up into the first, second team reps guys? You expect CeeDee Lamb obviously to be right up there, but James Washington, Jalen Tolbert, And then who else? Like, who's another guy? Is Simi Fehoko going to take that next step? Is it a T.J. Vasher? Is it, a guy like Brandon Smith? It can be somebody like that. So I'm anxious to see which one of these receivers, Noah Brown maybe, that jumps into that next group.
Well, today the work is very, very light. So whatever you do, I'm not going to be impressed. But I am looking forward to watching the kickers. Are we going to be able to see them kick? Again, talk about young talent. They're relying once again on a guy that's brand new to the league and then another guy that has very, very little experience, like a couple of months of experience, not even a full year. So I'll be looking at that. Hopefully we get the chance to watch them make some kicks. I don't know. Sometimes they just stand around for a little while, so I don't know. But I'm looking forward to keeping an eye on that.
Defensive tackle for me. I mean, they have got guys, and I've got, you start to talk about Ridgeway, Gallimore, Odighizuwa, Bohanna. Then you also say Tristan Hill. Is he on the last legs here? He has no more sponsor in the building. Can he make this football team? Can he stay healthy? Can he be disruptive? I talk about him, Watkins. They've got a lot of defensive tackles that they have got to figure out how the rotation was. That might be a pretty tough cut for them. But then again, you might have a situation where these guys will play themselves off this team.
Yep. All right. Just so you guys know, we will be alternating days with Talking Cowboys. We'll be on today and Friday this week. Talking Cowboys will be on tomorrow. Next week, they'll do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll do Tuesday, Thursday. So you can check our app to get the full schedule each day to know exactly what show will be on and when. We got some shows back at the Star that will also be taking place. We're going to bring you guys a lot of coverage throughout here at training camp. So there's a lot of stuff for you guys to see what's going on out here and be able to take part in what's going on. Till Friday, for Nick Eatman, Amber Garcia, Brian Broadus, I'm Derek Eagle. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!